You know, there are very few texts out there that have shaped civilization quite like the Ten Commandments. I mean, they're the bedrock for legal systems and moral codes all over the world. But what does the source text actually say? So that's what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going straight to the source to break down one of the most influential chapters ever written, Exodus chapter 20. All right, so for this, we're jumping right into the source material, the King James Version of Exodus chapter 20. And look, our goal here isn't to get into heavy interpretation, but just to see what's actually written on the page. And what's so fascinating is that the text doesn't begin with a command. No, it starts with this powerful statement of identity and purpose. So get this, before any laws are handed down, the speaker sets the stage. This isn't some distant philosopher speaking from an ivory tower. According to the text, this is God, talking directly to the Israelites. And the very first thing he does is remind them, hey, I'm the one who just rescued you from slavery in Egypt. The entire set of laws that comes next is framed by this incredible act of liberation. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with the dramatic setting, then we'll explore the two main categories of laws. You've got one for relating to the divine and another for building a society. Then we'll see how the people actually reacted to all this, and finally, we'll look at the very specific instructions that wrap the whole chapter up. Okay, let's dive into this. First off, you just have to appreciate the drama of the setting here. This is not some quiet, private revelation. The way the text describes it, this is like a national address on a cosmic scale, delivered directly to an entire people. And the text is really, really clear about this. It says, "And God spake all these words, saying." This isn't Moses just relaying a message. No, the text presents this as an entire nation, all gathered at the foot of a mountain, hearing this voice for themselves. I mean, can you even imagine the weight of that moment? The sheer terror? So the laws kick off with a really specific focus. The first commandments, they're not about how people should treat each other, they're all about how humanity is supposed to relate to the divine. These are the absolute ground rules for worship and for belief. So these first four, they're really the theological foundation. They cover exclusivity, so no other gods, the nature of worship, no physical idols, reverence for God's name, and then finally setting aside time itself with a day of rest. Now this one is super detailed. It's a really strict rule against idolatry. The text says you can't create physical representations of, well, anything. Not celestial stuff, not earthly stuff, not stuff from the water, if the point is to worship it. The whole idea, right, is to worship the Creator you can't see, not the stuff you can. All right, next up is the Sabbath. And you have to understand, in the ancient world, this was a totally radical idea. A mandatory day of complete rest. And it applied to everyone, the head of the house, the kids, the servants, even the animals. The text gives this really profound reason for it too, because God rested on the seventh day. It's a command that's woven right into the fabric of the creation story itself. And this is where things get really interesting, because the text just makes this total pivot. After four commandments setting up the rules for the relationship between the divine and the human, the focus makes a hard turn. We go from talking about the heavens to talking about life on earth, from the rules of worship to the rules for a society that actually works. So this next batch of rules, it's basically the foundational social contract. These are the laws that allow a whole community to function, the things that create stability and trust and order. They're all about how people should treat each other. Think of these 6 rules as the absolute core pillars for a functioning society, right? They protect the family structure, the sanctity of life, marriage, property, and truth within the justice system. And they even get into the internal desires that can lead to everything falling apart. Now, this one's a little different. It's not just a "don't do this." It actually comes with a blessing attached. The text makes a direct link between respecting your parents and having a long, prosperous life for the whole nation. It's like it's saying the family unit is the absolute bedrock of national stability. And this last commandment, wow, it really shows you how deep these laws go. It's not about what you do, it's about what you think. To covet means to have this intense desire for something that isn't yours. So this law is targeting the root cause of things like theft or adultery or even murder, that internal desire that always comes before the action. Okay, so once these 10 big declarations are made, the camera kind of pans away from the mountain and back to the people at its base. And their reaction to this direct, unfiltered communication, well, it's absolute terror. Yeah, this was not some calm, quiet lecture. The text describes it as a full-on sensory overload. The people are seeing lightning, a smoking mountain, they're hearing thunder, and this piercing trumpet sound. The whole experience was so overwhelming that they literally backed away and stood afar off.
And what they say to Moses, well, it says it all. This direct experience of the divine was just too much for them. They basically tell him, look, this is way too intense. You go talk to God for us. We'll listen to you, but if we hear that voice again, we're going to die.
And right here, this moment totally changes the dynamic. The people's fear creates the need for a mediator, a go-between. This is where Moses' role as that person really gets locked in. He's the one who's brave enough to approach the thick darkness to speak with God for everybody else. All right, so the people are way back, keeping their distance, and God starts giving Moses his first set of instructions as this new mediator, and they're surprisingly practical. It's all about the proper way to build a place of worship, an altar. And the instructions are super specific, but they all point to one thing: simplicity. An altar should be made of just plain earth. If you use stone, it has to be natural, uncut stone. The text actually says that using a tool to shape it pollutes it. And finally, no steps leading up to it, to maintain a sense of humility. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Humility and simplicity. I mean, think about it. You're in a world that's filled with these magnificent man-made temples and elaborate statues to other gods. And these rules are calling for worship to be centered on something natural and simple. The focus is supposed to be on God, not on human craftsmanship. So from this incredible voice on a smoking mountain, all the way down to rules about building altars, Exodus 20 really lays out this huge vision for a new society. Which really leaves us with a fascinating question, doesn't it? Thousands of years later, which of these ancient commands about worship, about justice, family, or even about our own thoughts do we still hear ringing in our lives today?